the philosopher who revealed the power of shadow archetypes, Carl Jung. Have you ever wondered why you sabotage your own success? Why are you drawn to toxic patterns over and over again? Or why, deep down, a part of you secretly fears becoming everything you say you want to be? Carl Jung believed the answer lies not in your conscious mind, but in the shadow. A hidden force inside each of us, dark, repressed, denied, that shapes your destiny whether you like it or not. Jung wasn't just a psychologist. He was a spiritual cartographer of the human soul. While others tried to cure people by labeling their symptoms, Jung dove deeper. He saw symbols in dreams, myths in the mind, and archetypes in the soul. But one archetype stood out, the shadow. According to him, it's not your enemies or traumas that hold you back. It's your refusal to face the darkness within. And until you integrate your shadow, it will rule your life from behind the curtain. In this video, we're going to explore how Carl Jung unlocked the hidden architecture of the psyche, and how understanding your shadow can transform fear into freedom, weakness into power, and pain into purpose. If you're ready to look into the mirror of your soul and finally meet the part of you you've been running from, then stay with me. And before we dive in, remember to like this video, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Not just for us, but for your own journey of awakening. Let's begin. Topic 1. What is the shadow? The hidden self that shapes your life. Most people believe they are in control of their lives. They think their decisions come from reason, their beliefs from experience, and their desires from what they truly want. But Carl Jung shattered this illusion. He revealed that much of who we are is hidden beneath the surface, in what he called the shadow. This isn't just the dark part of the mind, it's the part we refuse to see. The shadow contains everything we've repressed, desires we're ashamed of, emotions we fear, instincts society told us were wrong. It's the part of you that gets angry when someone succeeds, that envies, that manipulates, that lusts. Not because you're evil, but because you're human. And what you deny doesn't disappear. It festers. It waits. It influences. Jung said, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Let that sink in. Every time you lash out for no reason, every time you sabotage a relationship, every time you quit right before a breakthrough, that's not fate. That's the shadow acting out your suppressed script. But why do we even create this shadow in the first place? Because from childhood, we're told what's acceptable and what's not. We're rewarded for being polite, punished for being angry, loved when we conform, rejected when we rebel. So we push parts of ourselves into the dark, thinking we've gotten rid of them. We haven't. We've only buried them. And what happens to buried parts of the self? They don't die. They grow stronger in secret. They become the stranger you meet in dreams, the voice that whispers during silence, the sudden rage that erupts when someone touches an old wound. The shadow becomes the silent author of your suffering. The tragedy is that many never realize this. They spend their lives trying to fix the external world, blaming others, changing jobs, moving cities, but never looking within. They're haunted by something they can't name, addicted to drama, repeating toxic patterns. The shadow is not the enemy. Ignorance of it is. Jung didn't see the shadow as bad. He saw it as necessary. It holds not just our darkness, but our unclaimed power. The assertiveness we lacked, the creativity we silenced, the wildness we feared. To Jung, the shadow was not a demon to be destroyed, but a dragon to be integrated. Imagine someone who grew up told never to speak up. They bury their voice. Years later, they wonder why they feel invisible, unheard, insignificant. But they don't realize, their power was never lost. It was just shadowed, waiting to be reclaimed. Integration, Jung said, is the key. Not suppression, not destruction, but conscious awareness. To look at the part of yourself you hate and say, I see you. That's where healing begins. That's where wholeness starts. But how do you even begin to see something you've spent your whole life avoiding? Jung believed the unconscious speaks in symbols, in dreams, fantasies, projections. Every time you're triggered by someone's behavior, that's a clue. Every irrational fear, every obsession, every overreaction, a mirror of the shadow. The people we hate often reflect the parts of us we've denied. That arrogant coworker? Maybe your own repressed ambition. That loud friend? Maybe the boldness you buried. Projection is the tool the shadow uses to hide, but it's also the clue it leaves behind. That's why self-awareness is so painful. Because to truly know yourself, you must see not only your light, but your darkness. Not only your strengths, but your shadows. And it takes radical courage to look in that mirror without flinching. The world encourages you to be likable, to be good, to be successful. But Jung asks a different question. Are you whole? Have you met every part of yourself, even the ones that scare you? Because only the whole self can be truly free. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. This is the path of the awakened one. Not to escape the shadow, but to walk through it. Facing your shadow is not a one-time event. It's a lifelong dialogue, a practice, a discipline. Every day new layers rise, new truths emerge. The journey inward has no final destination, but every step brings deeper freedom. The paradox? The more you accept your shadow, the less control it has. The more you repress it, the more power it gains. You either face the monster or you become it unconsciously. The choice is yours. And the reward? Authenticity, power, wholeness, the ability to respond to life from your true self, not your conditioned mask. Isn't that what we all long for? So, what part of you have you been running from? What truth have you been too afraid to feel? Tell me in the comments. Let's bring it to light together. Topic 2: How the Shadow Forms. Childhood, Society, and the Masks We Wear. Before you ever knew the word shadow, it was already forming inside you. Not through malice, not through trauma alone, but through something more subtle, the process of growing up. Jung understood that children are born whole, raw, and full of potential. But wholeness is not always welcome in a world of rules. From the moment we arrive, we learn what's good and bad. We're told boys don't cry, girls shouldn't shout, anger is dangerous, desire is dirty. So we split. We create a self that is loved, and a self that is hidden. That hidden part becomes the shadow. The more we seek approval, the more we repress our truth. Your shadow didn't form in darkness, it formed in light. In classrooms, dinner tables, religious spaces, every time you got praised for being quiet or punished for being curious, a part of you went underground. You became someone else, someone acceptable. Jung called this false self the persona, the mask we wear in public. It's the role you play at work, with friends, on social media. It's not fake, it's just incomplete. The persona hides the parts that don't fit the story. But those parts don't disappear. They wait. And when they resurface, in rage, anxiety, depression, addiction, we're confused. Why am I like this, we ask. But the better question is, what part of me am I not allowing to speak? The shadow speaks through pain when it can't speak through words. Society doesn't teach us to explore the shadow. It teaches us to avoid it. To distract ourselves with entertainment, productivity, success. We glorify the light. We deny the dark. But the soul does not forget what the mind avoid. Even religion, which should guide inner exploration, often deepens repression. It labels certain thoughts as sins, certain instincts as evil. It separates the self into heaven and hell. But Jung believed the soul is not divided. It is one, and all of it must be faced. The more idealistic your upbringing, the more intense your shadow. Think about it. A child raised in strict purity will develop secret obsessions. A child told never to be angry may later explode in violence. What is repressed becomes distorted. This doesn't mean we should act out every impulse. Jung never suggested indulging the shadow. He suggested seeing it, holding it in awareness, not judgment. That's the difference between integration and chaos. The danger is not the shadow itself, it's the refusal to see it. The shadow that is not faced becomes projected. We start seeing in others what we hate in ourselves. That's why the most judgmental people are often the most repressed. Think of the bully who mocks weakness, often hiding his own vulnerability. The preacher who condemns desire, often tormented by his own. The mask is loud. The shadow is silent. But silence doesn't mean absence. It means power waiting in disguise. Your healing begins when you stop pretending, when you stop performing, when you let the mask slip, even just a little. That's where you meet your truth. And often your truth is messy, but it's real. And only the real self can be free. Carl Jung believed that freedom doesn't come from perfection. It comes from wholeness. And wholeness requires that we embrace not just the parts that shine, but the ones that ache, tremble, and hide. That's the courage of inner work. So next time you react strongly to someone, pause. Ask yourself, what part of me feels threatened? What truth am I denying? The answer may surprise you and liberate you. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think society pushed you to repress? What mask have you been wearing for too long? Share it below. You might inspire someone else to take theirs off too. Topic 3: The Shadow's Power. Why it holds the key to your potential. Most people fear the shadow. They treat it as a threat, a place of darkness to be avoided. But Carl Jung saw something radically different. To him, the shadow is not just where our wounds live, it's where our genius hides. It is the source of unrealized power, of creativity, of spiritual awakening. And only those brave enough to walk through its darkness will find the gold buried within. Jung called this the gold in the shadow, the qualities you had to suppress in order to survive. Maybe you were a wild dreamer, punished for being unrealistic. Maybe you were assertive, but labeled difficult. So you learned to shrink, to please, to hide. But those rejected traits didn't vanish. They became your hidden strength. You were not born to be small. The parts of you that don't fit in are often the parts that are most alive. But aliveness is messy. It scares people. It disrupts systems. That's why society favors conformity, and why true power lies in reclaiming what was denied. Have you ever noticed how the things you most admire in others are the things you've disowned in yourself? You envy the bold artist because your own creativity is asleep. You resent the confident speaker because your voice has been muted. The shadow is a mirror, and it reflects your unlived potential. But the mirror is double-sided. The qualities you most hate in others? They too live in your shadow. The arrogance you criticize, the selfishness you condemn, the anger you judge. These may be aspects of yourself you haven't allowed to exist, and so, they haunt you from others. The key is not to become arrogant or selfish. The key is to understand why you've been afraid of those energies. What would happen if you allowed a little healthy pride? A little self-prioritization? Sometimes the very trait you suppress is the medicine you need. Jung warned that ignoring the shadow leads to what he called possession, moments when the shadow takes over and we act in ways we can't explain. We say things we regret. We hurt people we love. We betray ourselves. This is not failure. This is the unconscious rising to be seen. To avoid that, we must build a conscious relationship with our inner darkness. Not by indulging it, but by honoring it, giving it a seat at the table, listening to its pain, letting it teach us what we've been too afraid to feel. This is what true transformation looks like. Not becoming someone else, but becoming whole. And wholeness includes the rebel, the wild one, the angry child, the secret dreamer, the one you silenced to survive, the one who now holds your power. Imagine if you stopped apologizing for your depth, if you let yourself feel fully, express wildly, create boldly. What would your life look like? Who would you become? That vision is not fantasy. It's the version of you that already exists, waiting in the shadow. The irony is that your shadow doesn't want to hurt you. It wants to liberate you. It wants to stop being your enemy and start being your ally. But for that, you must turn toward it, not away. Every fear you face expands your freedom. Every emotion you feel fully becomes fuel. Every part of you you reclaim adds a new dimension to your soul. This is not self-help. This is self-rescue. Jung believed that the deeper we go into the unconscious, the more we touch the archetypal realm, a place where the individual soul connects with the universal. When you integrate your shadow, you don't just heal yourself, you become a vessel of collective transformation. You've seen this in myths, in stories, in heroes who descend into the underworld before rising. This isn't fiction. This is inner alchemy. The dragon you fear guards the treasure you seek, and the only way out is through. So, what part of yourself have you mistaken for weakness, that might actually be strength? What if the wound was never meant to destroy you, but to guide you? Reflect on this, and let the answers rise. Now tell me, have you ever discovered a gift inside your pain? A power you only found after breaking down? Share it in the comments. That's how we make the darkness sacred. Topic 4: Shadow Integration. How to reclaim what you've lost. Carl Jung didn't want people to live in the shadow. He wanted them to integrate it. But integration is not about becoming darker. It's about becoming fuller. It's not about acting on every impulse. It's about understanding where they come from and what they teach. The first step is awareness. You can't change what you don't see. So begin with observation. Notice your triggers. Notice the people who annoy you, the emotions that scare you, the situations you avoid. Each one holds a message from your shadow. Journaling is a powerful tool. Ask yourself, what did I want to do as a child that I stopped doing? What part of myself do I hide from others? What would I be afraid for people to know about me? These questions open the door to integration. Dreams are another gateway. Jung believed dreams speak the language of the unconscious. Pay attention to symbols, to recurring themes. The monster chasing you? The house you're lost in? The forgotten child? Each one represents a part of you longing to be met. But dreams alone aren't enough. You need reflection, dialogue, expression, art, movement, therapy, spiritual practice. All of these can help give voice to what was silenced. The more you express, the less power your shadow has over you. One of the most profound practices Jung encouraged was shadow dialogue, writing a conversation between your conscious self and your shadow. Let the shadow speak freely. You'll be shocked at what it says. But don't judge it. Listen, learn, heal. The goal isn't to fix the shadow. It's to build a relationship with it, to understand its pain, to recognize that it once protected you, that every behavior you now reject once helped you survive, and that deserves compassion. Compassion is the bridge. Without it, integration becomes punishment. With it, integration becomes redemption. You become the parent your inner child never had, the witness your pain always longed for, the guide your shadow has been waiting for. Boundaries are essential too. Integration doesn't mean acting out every desire. It means honoring the energy behind it, channeling your rage into activism, your desire into connection, your grief into art. It means transmutation. You are not here to be perfect. You are here to be real. And realness includes light and dark, joy and sorrow, courage and fear. The more you accept this paradox, the more power you reclaim. Jung called this process individuation, becoming your true, undivided self. Not a copy, not a persona, but the soul you were born to be. Integration is the path to individuation, and it is the most sacred path you will ever walk. You will lose people along the way. People who only loved your mask, who needed you to stay small. But you will also find people who see you, all of you, and love you more because of it. Those are your soul allies. Find them. Remember, the shadow is not a mistake. It's a map, a guide, a source of intuition, insight, and inspiration. And when you integrate it, you become unstoppable, because nothing inside you is working against you anymore. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you stopped fearing your own depths? If you trusted your darkness as much as your light? That's the promise of shadow work. That's the power Jung revealed. So take one step today. Journal, reflect, keep, forgive, reclaim, begin. The journey is not linear, but every step into the shadow is a step toward your wholeness. Now I want to ask you, what part of your shadow are you ready to integrate? What truth are you finally willing to face? Comment below, and make that your sacred commitment. Topic 5: Living with the Shadow, Embracing Wholeness in a Divided World. Integration doesn't mean your shadow disappears. It means you've made peace with it. The goal is not to eliminate darkness, but to live with it consciously, to move through the world no longer fragmented, but whole. And in a society obsessed with image, that is revolutionary. Most people walk through life as half versions of themselves, carefully curated, filtered, presented. But behind the scenes, they're exhausted, anxious, empty. The pressure to be good kills authenticity. And without authenticity, there is no soul. Carl Jung believed that wholeness, not happiness, is the true aim of the inner journey. Happiness comes and goes, but wholeness endures. It holds space for contradiction, for complexity, for truth. It allows you to be real in a world of performance, and being real takes courage, because it means showing up with your scars, your shadows, your fire. It means risking rejection, facing misunderstanding, losing comfort, but it also means gaining something sacred: self-respect, integrity, freedom. You're no longer driven by people-pleasing, no longer trapped by shame, no longer haunted by what you refuse to see. When you integrate your shadow, you stop needing to control the world, because you've already reclaimed your inner world. You become less reactive, less judgmental. You understand why people hurt each other, why they lie, why they hide, not to excuse it, but to see clearly. Compassion expands, clarity sharpens, and you stop feeding the cycles of projection and pain. This doesn't make you passive. It makes you powerful, because now your choices come from awareness, not compulsion. You're not acting out your wounds, you're responding from wisdom. That's the difference between survival and sovereignty. Jung knew that those who integrate their shadow become initiators of healing. In families, in relationships, in culture, they break patterns, end cycles, embody light and dark without being enslaved by either. They become what he called whole individuals. And the world desperately needs whole individuals, not saints, not heroes, just real, conscious, grounded human beings who have dared to meet themselves fully. People who know their anger and can still choose love, who know their fear and still move forward. Imagine what it would be like if leaders did shadow work, if institutions prioritized wholeness, if communities held space for the fullness of the human soul. That's not naive. That's the future Jung dreamed of, and the future we must build. But it begins with you. You can't change the world without changing yourself. You can't bring healing to others if you're at war with yourself. Integration is not just personal. It is political. It is spiritual. It is necessary. Every time you choose to feel instead of numb, to speak instead of shrink, to forgive instead of hide, you are living the work. You are embodying the teachings. You are becoming the change that no system can provide. Your shadow won't vanish, but it will evolve, from enemy to teacher, from saboteur to ally, from burden to gift, and in that evolution you will meet the most powerful version of yourself. Not perfect, not pure, but present, whole, alive. So, what does it mean to truly live with your shadow? It means to walk the world without fear of your own depth, to face every mirror with honesty, and to know that even your darkness is sacred. Now I ask you, what would your life look like if you fully embraced your wholeness? What if nothing inside you was off limits anymore? Think about it, feel it, and let that vision guide you. Share in the comments. What is one shadow trait you're learning to live with, not as a flaw, but as a facet of your being? Your answer might inspire someone else's freedom. The journey of wholeness begins in the dark. Carl Jung didn't offer easy answers. He offered a mirror, one that reflected not only who we are, but who we could become. He knew that true power isn't found in pretending to be light, but in daring to hold the dark. And in that sacred tension, we become whole. You are not broken. You are not weak. You are simply incomplete, until you face what's been waiting in the shadow. Your pain is not proof of failure. It's the path to freedom. Your fear is not an obstacle. It's a doorway. And your shadow is not your enemy. It is your unclaimed self, calling you home. So walk toward it. Speak to it. Dance with it. Let it show you the parts of you that were too wild, too real, too powerful to fit into a world that taught you to shrink. Because once you reclaim your shadow, nothing can own you again. If this message stirred something in you, honor it. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell, not just for more content, but as a commitment to your inner journey. And above all, share this video with someone who needs it. Someone who's been lost in the dark and needs to remember, there is gold waiting in the shadow.